Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, your underwater agent of awesome X7, which is kind of funny because water, the ocean, did play a integral part in the creation of X7. But that's a story for another time once it's declassified. We'll wait and see if Boots will ever do that. But today we're going to be talking about Aquaman. Well, we're going to be talking about a comic book and showing it. So I was inspired by Casually Comics, the YouTube channel run by Sasha or Sasha. I don't know how she says it, and I'm sorry, but it's a great channel. She knows her stuff. She knows her comic books, her classic comic books, her current comic books, and I know classic. And when I'm saying it, she's good. So if you ever have, I'll put a link somewhere in it so that you can subscribe to her channel. It's just great. She's funny. She does voices. Anyway, we're going to be talking about a comic book because she did a recent episode about Aquaman in general that nobody loves him, but I don't think that's quite true. I mean, well, now they do, but be that as it may, please like, share, subscribe, vote in the poll if there is one, and leave a comment. We'd really appreciate it. Wherever you're watching or listening, please watch and listen to for a couple more minutes longer, and I won't ask again. Grab yourself a big old bowl of hummus of perfection, but don't eat it underwater, unlike somebody. So here's the comic book we're going to be talking about. Good Lord. And we'll go into that here momentarily. I think I've got one more panel here. You can read more about it in this issue if you want the color one, and I highly recommend it. And I'll show a little bit of that later on. So, without further ado, let's get into the comic book. All right, here is my actual physical copy. The picture you saw was from mycomicshop.com, also a great place to buy comic books for wonderful prices. This probably was the copy that used to be on there. The late, great Mr. Owari sent this to me, being the generous soul that he was. Still missed. It's been about a year, maybe a little over a year now. I don't know. You don't want to remember these things. Anyway, so I had this as a kid. It was, I can tell you a little more about it. It's called let's put this over here. It's called as you can say, it is DC Supergiant. Super DC Giant. It's kind of like Super TV Heroes that Hanna-Barbera did, but DC Supergiant is S26. There were, I don't know how many of those there were, 27 or so. Not 100% sure. This was toward the end. It was published here in, when does this say? October 1971 was the cover. Here's that great background where be a pilot. So this has a August 1971. So this probably came out in June or July, August. So it was bi-monthly. So this probably came out May, we'll say April or May, which was probably a birthday present then. So it has 5 stories in it. 5 stories, and at the very end, we get a prose story there. It's got some illustration. It's 2 pages. Think more of these great ads. I have to review that book too. I have a book about that. That'll be fun. Well, dang. Bear with me. We're going to get the prose story right out of the way. By Steve Skeet, Sal Amendola, and some guy named Dick Giordano. But all it is 2 pages, and not too long. I mean, I hate to call it anything filler, but it was new and definitely not from the original ones. Because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comic book stories, and when I got this, I was only about 5 years old. 71, 6 years old. I was a wee young agent. I'd already been in the water, so I didn't understand all of them. This first one is a great splash page. Look at that. So this is an invasion. Uh, Creatures, what is that called? Pardon me. Creatures from Atlantis. It's a two-parter, so it gets in the table of contents. You see that it's got one, two, but they're the same. The shark with the human face, the human flying fish, a world without water. That was a weird one. And the first Aqua Girl, and that's one of the more enchanting ones. So this first one, the Creatures from Atlantis and Prisoners of Atlantis, was written by Jack Miller, art penciled and inked by Ramona Fradon, and I don't think they have credits for the. No, it was originally produced or presented in. Oops, I don't know why I did that. Presented in Showcase number 30, February of 1961. Now, I have talked about Aquaman in the past simply because I like Aquaman, thanks to the Filmation cartoon. This has Aquaman's origin story in it. Now in 61, we've gotten into Earth 1 and Earth 2. There was an Earth 2 Aquaman and at a different origin altogether. More. The ads just kill me. I miss those in the reprints and the letters pages. But we get his original origin story there, and so I'm assuming this is Earth 1. And these creatures have come in and just taken over Atlantis. Of course, they've got this deadly ray that melts things, so nobody can attack him. Aqualad is here. Oh, I've read his origin story. It's not in here. I had a Showcase Presents black and white edition, like 3 volumes of Aquaman, and it was nice enough. But they figure out how Aquaman he's at this point in time he still can only survive out of water for an hour. That was dumb. He can command all sea life, which I always thought was nice enough, but a good power. But I don't think he should be able. He could ask them and then let them decide. So, these monsters, these creatures are from another dimension. They get banished back. So it's a very ingenious story. It's a good double lengther. I don't know if it was. Let me check on the second part. Page 12. Should have looked at this beforehand, right? And marked all the pages. Continued in chapter 2. Yeah, here's another great splash page. So it doesn't say it was reprinted elsewhere. We'll go with that. Very good story. And the next story was A World Without Water, written by Joe Millard, and of course penciled and inked by Ramona Fradon. From Adventure number 251, August 1958. Fradon was just an underrated artist, and I know her from this, and of course she's famous for co-creation of Metamorpho, who I like quite a bit. DC did do some interesting experiments in the 60s trying to copy Marvel. Wait till we get to the Metal Men. But I don't even think I have any Metal Men color comics at this point in time, sadly. So Aquaman gets thrown into the future where there's no water, but there's still creatures. He can fly. Look at the whales have devolved or re-evolved back to having legs, so they can all live on the air, live in air and on land. And something that gigantic, built that way, I don't know. But manta rays that can zap people, or mantas, stingrays, which have poison. So and look, there's Topo. This is probably what cemented my love of octopi. This and King Kong versus Godzilla when I saw that in the theater. I always wanted a pet octopus. I don't know that I've called him Topo, but Topo Gigio. Next we have The Human Flying Fish, but written by Robert Bernstein, and of course penciled and inked by Ramona Fradon. She did all of it. I'm just going to say that now, except for that last story there. More t-shirts and whatever that is, grab bag coins. I don't remember. Bragg. Somebody named Bragg. Oh, they give him gills and Yeah, so he can rob things. Here's a great topo flings Aquaman. I don't know that that's possible above the water. One of the cool things about Aquaman is that people don't ever seem to realize is how strong he has to be from living underwater and swimming around, simply because the pressure. I mean, he might not be Superman or Wonder Woman class, but he's below. I mean, he's right below it, and ridiculously powerful. I mean, this time frame in the late 50s, early 60s, all of DC's heroes were goody goodies and had scant personality other than, hey, let's help somebody out. There's the first Aqua Girl, not Mara. So this is from 1959, Adventure 266. She's breathing underwater. Lisa Morel. Her father is Dr. Hugo Morel, the famous ichthyologist. So they're trying to figure out why she can breathe underwater, and she can swim really fast, command sea life. What a great idea. Now, unfortunately, back then, Aquaman, these were just 8-page stories, unless you have invaders from another dimension. And they just end them. But this could have been a nice running storyline if they'd have thought that far in advance, where how this mysterious, but right here, suddenly, she can't breathe underwater anymore. So Aquaman saves her, and then we get a flashback about these are people are called throwbacks. You know how you can tell what they are? They have purple or violet eyes. Dun dun dun. So her career as Aqua Girl, the first Aqua Girl, is over. But her dad, she's going to be in the water. She's got an experience that a lot of ichthyologists would kill for. One of the other reasons I was thinking about reviewing Aquaman or something was that I was swimming today, and one thing I wanted Marine Boy's Aqua Gum, and then I thought, well, geez, I might as well just be able to breathe underwater and be Aquaman and be able to see and talk. And I think it'd be fun to be able to communicate with at least a higher evolved species in the ocean, like octopi, or I know they're called octopuses now, but I learned octopi, and that's what I'm going with. But so this is one of the. I mean, I had several Aquaman books, but this is the only one I remembered. There's a picture of me and my brother reading comic books, and I could see the logo. But I can't tell you which one it was because my father bought these things for me. Although by this time he was not buying them. Somebody must have. But since I think it came out around my birthday, look, speaking of water, sea monkeys. Never opened them, never ordered them, never wanted them. I'm not a big fan of monkeys. The House of Forbidden Love. Oh, that's a DC. They were still doing love stories, but this they were combining with Dark Shadows. Our final story is one from Jack Miller with Ramona doing the chores there. It's the shark with a human face, with a human brain. Let's see. Don't jump, shark. That's his name. Shark Wilson. Don't jump, shark. Remember, the sand on that beach is believed to have magic powers that will turn you into a fish. So he jumps on there. He lands on the beach. I feel awful funny. Must have been shaken up bad by that high jump. And the cops are going to alert Aquaman, and look what they see. So here's Shark. Do you see his face there? Yeah. Aquaman sees him. It's a shark with Shark's face. Shark Wilson, who's just as smart. He does mean things to octopus. The octopus, the swordfish, gets all bent out of shape. And apparently Shark can command sharks. Now, why he would be able to, command them and override Aquaman's commands. Boxing shrimp. Those are gigantic. Fight creatures just as big as sharks. Usually there's some science, and when the Flash was coming out, there was always science. Here's a nice full-page ad for Zeppelin with Michael York and Elkie Summer. What kid is going to want to go see this movie? I mean, it looks pretty exciting, but that's a little unusual. But there wasn't a lot going on in '71. Pufferfish, Fugu. The Homer's the only person I've known that uh, survive eating fugu, but it poisons the shark. See, I didn't understand all of this growing up when I was first reading it, and my original copy ended right about here. I'd forgotten there was a prose, which I wouldn't even have read. And then he goes back, he follows the shark, but shark's in his human form, and Aquaman is left wondering, what about it? He's talking to the reader. Was the shark I fought simply the shrewdest shark that ever lived? Or was it Shark Wilson, who returned to his normal self after the shark body died? What do you think, reader? I think it's outrageous. So I love Aquaman. I know that he got a bad rap. He gets a bad rap still. Thank you, Super Friends, which was where Sasha was talking that people remember him from Super Friends when he couldn't punch anyone or do anything really daring. They were just they were helping people, which isn't a bad thing to do. And like I said, I don't know if I've talked about Super Friends, but I was really salty about it for a couple of decades because I wanted punch him outs and villains, super villains. And I didn't get any of that in the first season of Super Friends. But in the Filmation cartoon, it's a lot more action packed. You get Aqualad, you get Mara, you get Tusky the Walrus, and you get Storm and Imp. And I really wish I remembered if Mara's seahorse had a name, but I don't. It's probably flying. I don't know, something cute. Cloud, maybe. Storm, Imp, Cloud. I don't know, but I just really love the cartoon. And being a swimmer, I wanted to, be able to swim faster and as fast as Aquaman could. I didn't realize how actually strong he was. I mean, if he punched someone with his full strength, he's going to cave their face in, much like, Superman. But he's stronger than Batman for sure. So there's our review of what I call this Super DC Giant number S26 Aquaman, and I love this. The subtitle here, featuring the Sea King's most spectacular adventures. No Black Manta. I mean, even the fisherman is better than a human flying fish, right? That's just all there is to it. But be that as it may, I mean, I don't know when supervillains really. I mean, Batman had his rogues gallery, and Superman had one, and Wonder Woman kind of had one. But Aquaman, along with, who was the other one? Green Arrow? I know Aquaman was the only one that was continuous. His stories were continuously published from the time his first appearance all the way to whenever they stopped with Adventure Comics or something. So he survived. He and the Trinity, and I want to say Green Arrow, but I'm not 100% sure. I thought there were 5 of them that were continuously published from the 40s clean into the 70s or 80s. So anytime anyone says Aquaman sucks, they're wrong. Just tell them that, because if they say it to you, they're lying to you and they're not your friend. All right, so we'll be right back in a moment here. Like I said, they're lying to you and they're not your friend. And I completely forgot I was going to play a snippet of this. Well, there we go.
Aquaman, swift and powerful monarch of the ocean, with ability to summon and command all creatures
of the deep. That is Ted Knight. And I don't mean Starman. I mean Ted Knight, the actor, who was Ted Baxter later on. And that's the cartoon intro. There's our heroes there. You see fish telling them something. Storm, Imp, Cloud, Sea Cloud. Let's go with Sea Cloud. Mara, who was only identified as Aquaman's friend, and I think by 68, when the cartoon was out, I think they were married by then, but I'm not 100% sure.
Aquaman, who with his teenage ally Aqualad guards and defends all that lives in the seas against the forces of evil.
And they did, and they lasted 34 episodes, part of the Superman Aquaman hour. I never understood why they said Aqua. I just never heard that. I mean, but at this point in time, it doesn't bother me. Oh, and here's a picture from one of the stories where What the heck? What the heck is he going to eat? Have lunch. What are they going to make? I mean, obviously, I could go with the peanut butter and jellyfish sandwiches, but how are they going to do it? They're not going to fry up some fish, right? Right? I don't think Aquaman could command krill or plankton. Anything, but what do you suppose that was? That'll be the quiz for the day. All right, until our next assignment, this is X7 signing off. And just remember, just ponder up what Aquaman's going to serve Aqualad for lunch. Until our next assignment, X7 signing off.